Assalamu alaikum. May the peace of God be upon you. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Welcome to Al-Islam Refocused, the guiding light. And I am today's host, Dr. Salahuddin Muhammad, the Associate Imam of As-Salam Islamic Center. And I have with me today Imam Sean Somerville of Masjid Al-Razak. Welcome.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
We want to really share with you today our thoughts on what took place a couple of weeks ago in Chapel Hill. And I would like for you to start us off, Sean, by speaking to what happened in your neighborhood as it relates to what happened in Chapel Hill to those three wonderful Muslim young people.
Well, apparently it says that it was an altercation between a man that resided in the neighborhood in the same apartment complex regarding allegedly a parking lot incident. Mm-hmm. According to sources, they say that there's been an ongoing issue regarding, I guess, the lack of parking spaces or things of that nature, and apparently he just could not stand it anymore and decide to act out upon that and take the lives of the three Muslims that resided there, the two students and the one sister-in-law, I believe. And it was indeed a tragic situation.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that everybody is saying it's a parking lot incident, but it does smell of perhaps some prejudice or discrimination because of the religion they chose.
Right. I was keeping up with the story, and I realized that the person who was involved with this tragedy was an atheist, an avowed atheist.
Correct.
Who had something against all religions. Now, I think that it really is playing on our intelligence to suggest that three people were killed execution style. I mean, they all were shot in the head over a parking space. That doesn't sound right, it doesn't register right. However, we know that the powers that be are saying that they're doing an investigation, and that's what they always say, but we know that there's something more to it than this.
Indeed.
Yeah, I believe so. So Dia, Yuza, and Razan, they're all dead now. In fact, it was I went to the Janazah prayer service, and Janazah, for our TV viewing audience, is the Muslim prayer. And it was about 6,000 people there from all over who came to support the family and to also pray for these three who were so loved in the community. And these three were not just three regular people in the community, they were people who were giving something back. Right? Is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, they were giving something back. So,
standing and participant, active in the local masjid,
mm-hmm.
Doing a lot of good.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's a huge loss, not only for the Muslim community, but the world at large.
Yes.
The community of Chapel Hill.
Yes.
And it's tragic that this guy decides to. I mean, I understand. They're reporting that he was atheist and he has something against all religions or way of lives, but as you mentioned, execution style, that's really a what's the word? A point being made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you, so like his wife suggested that he snapped. If you snap, then you just shoot. And just shoot, and you're a military man, so you're just shooting all over the place. Exactly. You don't tell people to get on their knees and then shoot them all in the head execution style. That was methodical. As a military man, speak to that.
That's premeditated. I mean, if you're going to execute somebody, that is something that you think about. You already have your targets in mind, and that's just what it is. I mean, unfortunately, media is taking it and running with it, and they're trying to say it's a parking lot incident. I mean, he could have just shot anybody if it was indeed just over a parking space. Yeah. But I mean, to do it execution sound, that is to send a message. That's exterminating somebody with extreme prejudice, as we say. You know, that's a term they use when you execute somebody.
He has sent a message, and we would like to send our condolences to the family of those lost souls and let them know that we are with you, our condolences are with you, and we support you, and our prayers is that those three are going to get the choicest place in paradise. I mean, so now, what comes to my mind, Imam, is that Islamophobia is alive and well. What would you say that is? I mean, some people have their definition of Islamophobia. What does that mean to you? And how does it affect the Muslims in our community?
Well, of course, the word in itself gives you a clue as to what it means. Phobia, you know, in the world of psychology, that is a fear. You know, a fear of something. And you know, I always use myself as an example. I have a phobia of sharks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm not going to go swimming in the ocean, but that doesn't make me go out there and want to exterminate every single shark that is in the ocean.
Right.
You know, I understand my fear and I deal with it in a healthy manner.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding Islamophobia, unfortunately, it seems to be people's reaction to something they do not know, that they do not understand. And it's unfortunate because Al-Islam has been an integral part of the very founding of the United States of America.
That's right.
You know, with John Quincy Adams,
Mm-hmm.
with they even have a frieze at Washington D.C. of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
That's
that
right.
shows that, you know, that they understand. The founding fathers understand. Thomas Jefferson understood. They did not have a fear of Al-Islam. They had a deep, reverent respect for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but unfortunately, you know, with the coming behind 9/11 and things that are going on, Osama bin Laden, things of that nature, people are, and even ISIS or ISIL, whichever one you want to go with, has put incorrect perception of what Al-Islam is.
And I think that it's worse than it was in 2001, 9/11, in terms of people's perception of what Islam is and how they are attacking people. I mean, they attacked a man in a grocery store with his children. So things are happening. Another young man, a Somalian man, was killed. Things are happening, and it's all about Islamophobia. And so people don't understand what Islam is. I have to say this to you, Imam. The President of the United States of America, our President, Barack Obama, has spoken on this situation, and I think he's done an excellent job. Now, he came under attack. He came under attack by the conservative Republicans, and they really did not like when he spoke at the prayer breakfast and the things that he said. You know, he mentioned that, you know, we can't attack Islam for what some people are doing, and this is what people want, to attack Islam, the religion of Islam. He said, no, it's not the religion of Islam. There are some people who may have gone astray, or some people who may be on the fringe, but it's not Islam. And then he went into our history as Americans and what we did as Americans. He mentioned that the Crusades, in fact, when he talked about the Crusade, which was dealing with before America, but the Crusades, where Christians went over and killed all kinds of people in the name of religion.
And they said that it was so severe that the streets were, 2 to 3 feet of blood, rivers of blood, from what they were doing. And that's interesting that people are being so upset about that. I mean, the truth always come out. You know, alhamdulillah, President Obama has a good understanding, and I believe he does, of Christianity, which is his professed faith, and Al-Islam. He had the benefit of being introduced early on in his childhood, you know, in his upbringing, to both. So
Yes.
he understands it. And
Yes.
it's not to say one is worse than the other, but he's just comparing and contrasting. You know, just a short personal story. My brother and my cousin kind of, you know, had words because my cousin's coming at it, like, you know, like the other people, the naysayers about it. Like, oh, that has nothing to do with it, and you know, they just have such a bone to pick with Al-Islam. And I say Al-Islam because that is proper. You know, but and what we are seeing is a watered down, misconstrued, misunderstood version, I would say sect, of Al-Islam.
Well, those people outside of Islam, totally, they are attracting young people who are disenfranchised And so they're going over to Syria and other places to fight with them. But the president wants Americans to understand that it's not a fight against Islam, but it's a fight against what his words were, perverted Islam.
Exactly.
These people perverted Islam. I tend to call a spade, and that is that I call them monsters.
They are.
They are monsters. I'm not going to call them radical Islamists. I'm none of that. They are monsters. They are vicious monsters who are destroying life and property and everything else in the name of Islam. So the President of the United States, he said, we have people who have done it too. He went into slavery and the Jim Crow laws to show that we are not free from spilling blood as Americans, as so-called Christians. They did not like that. They did not like it at all. Why you want to bring that up? Because he's trying to balance it out to let you see that it's not about the religion itself, it's about people who profess the religion and people who distort the religion. That's what it's about. He did that then, and he did it recently in another speech that he gave, showing again that we are talking about those who have perverted the faith, and that's who we're going after. We're not going after the righteous Muslims. We're not going after the people who are practitioners of the faith. We're going after those people who have perverted the faith.
That are practicing injustice, and the Quran speaks about that.
Yes.
You know, to fight against injustice. If the Prophet Muhammad was here right now, he would fight against that.
That's right.
He would in no way, shape, form, or manner accept what they are doing.
I believe that's correct. I believe that's correct.
And as far as the Christianity and how that has been used as terrorists, one of the oldest terrorist groups in America, Ku Klux Klan.
Yes.
You know, I had you mentioned my military background, but I remember as an instructor at a military school, I had a Muslim brother and sister that was there, and this was like in probably around 97, late 90s, and they were counterintelligence, and they were studying about terrorism, things of that nature. Well, in the classroom, they had a prayer rug as a symbol for Islamic terrorism.
Wow.
And they had issues with that, and so they came to me, and I tried to speak to the people about it, and they're like, no, they're adamant about having it. And I said, well, listen, in all fairness then, if you want to keep up the prayer rug, you don't even have to go and get it. I will go and get a poster of a burning cross, with the Klan,
right?
Because that represents, terrorism.
Right.
You gonna call it, like you said, call a spade a spade.
Right.
When I brought that up, they took the rug down.
Yes.
They did not want to put that up because they knew they did not have a point to argue.
It's been a problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem. I don't think it's going to get better, but I'm happy that the president is speaking the way he's speaking, and of course, he doesn't have anything to lose because he doesn't have to run for the presidency again, so he can actually speak the truth. And so he's saying these things, but he's ruffling the feathers of a whole lot of people, but I think it's important.
Well, it makes people think, too.
Yeah, I think, and people need to think.
They do.
Our religion, Islam, is so beautiful, and our audience, we really want you to try to focus in on this, because I'm sure that where you live, you have neighbors that are Muslims. There are children that are Muslims that your children may play with. We love peace. We love the things that you love. We want our children to get a good education. I want my daughter to be married to a wonderful husband. I want my sons to be married to wonderful wives. I want to live the good life. So we are just like you as people.
Exactly.
No different. Our faith, if you really study our faith, you will see that there are so many similarities. I'm teaching a course at Wake Tech Community College on world religions. And the students in the class, they get the opportunity to look at each religion, and they can see the similarities that we all have. And they could, they see it. And I think it's wonderful. I don't think that we can really live in this life without looking at the other, and not looking at the other as though that other is something strange, but looking at the other to say, oh, okay, well, they believe a little different from me, but we're all the same. Now, when we start talking about God, we talk about the oneness of God. Many of the other religions also profess a belief in the oneness of God, but they have a different approach to it.
Exactly.
But still, they say they believe in one God. But then we even have religions that say, no, we are polytheists, like the Hindus. We are polytheists. We believe in many gods. We believe in the high God, we believe in many gods. And then you have the Buddhists that say we don't believe in God at all. So then the question comes up, well, can these people who don't believe in God have a moral base? Yes, they can.
And they do.
Yes, they can.
They do.
So once you begin to learn about all these different religions, you can begin to have some respect, and you can begin to have honor and love and appreciation for others.
And see, and that's the key, and you hit it right on the nail, education.
Yes, sir.
Education breeds intelligence, intelligence breeds understanding, and that gets rid of phobia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you fear something, it's most likely because you don't understand it.
Right.
Once you understand it, I mean, it's back to me about being, having a fear of sharks. I saw a program where a guy, you might as well call him a shark whisperer. He swam with them and pet them because he knew and he understood them.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't have that level of understanding yet.
So you're not even
So
going
I'm
near
just
them.
alone, but, I mean, Al-Islam is a beautiful thing.
Yes,
you
sir.
mentioned about community life and what we want. You know, it says in the Quran that, that God created us, of different nations, of different tribes, so that we can, know one another, learn from one another, understand one another, not to be bickering and fighting.
Yes.
He's given us a discourse, a means to be able to communicate in an intellectual manner, even grassroots manner, that we can dispel all of our, differences and not fight over nonsense.
Well, tell us something about what you do, and tell us if you've had to experience people showing you hatred or disrespecting you or being prejudiced against you, anything like that, discrimination.
Nothing on a huge, severe level, but my military career, the military has progressed greatly as far as Al-Islam. We have Islam, now they have Islamic, Muslim chaplains.
Right.
Masjids to give soldiers time to, to make salat, and salat is prayer, but to make prayer, special requirements as far as the food and eating things like that, dietary requirements. But when I was in the early 90s, it was difficult. It's like and that's when I first accepted Al-Islam.
Yes.
And I was under a magnifying glass, a microscope, because anything I did, it was attributed to, oh, you're doing that because you're a Muslim.
Oh, okay.
And this was at the time, you gotta understand, this was at a time where Desert Storm, even before Desert Storm, Desert Shield had just kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody was looking at me sideways. Well, here's this guy, he's a Muslim, and
These are the soldiers?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And they always questioned me, or they would come back. They never, because they knew me as a soldier first, so they had that level of respect. And I think at that time they really did not understand Al-Islam. Probably the only thing they knew of was maybe in Beirut back, in the early, 70s, I guess 80s. I don't remember. My history is bad right now, but it wasn't really at that level to where I would have to worry about anything.
Right.
Now, say from Desert Shield to Desert Storm to, as the war progressed and the soldiers started going over there and seeing things, then that started forming their opinions.
Right.
And then that's when they started doing hateful things. I remember when I was stationed with some soldiers when we went to Somalia, they'd come back bragging about how they give the pork MREs, the meal ready to eat, is what the soldiers have when we go out to deploy, and how they would capture, because I was an interrogator. Okay. Spanish Arabic interrogator. So we the prisoner of war. We captured them and interrogated them, but they would have a badge of honor of giving them pork MREs.
Wow.
And even then, that made me angry, but I approached it in a sensible manner. Right. And after I sat there and I talked to them, then they're like, "Oh, I didn't think of it like that," because the military teaches us that the other is the enemy. They're not human.
That's what they do.
Exactly.
In order for you to do what you have to do, they have to dehumanize them so that you can do it. Because to go against a human being, another human being, is something that you can't do. So you have to dehumanize the enemy, and then you're able to do it.
And I think, and it just made me think of something you said early on about how the youth are disenfranchised.
Yes.
So they're running to these terrible organizations. I just go back to gangs and them wanting to belong.
Right.
I think what has happened in America, we have become so far from the ideals of how this country was established. You know, freedom, justice, equality, freedom of religion. I think what has happened is we've emphasized so much on freedom that we let responsibility go.
Yeah, so freedom to do anything you want.
Freedom to do
No
whatever you
matter
want
how
without
terrible it
you
is.
know,
It's a fact.
exactly.
It's a
And
fact.
these kids are looking for something to belong to.
Yes.
You know, they're not getting it in the military. The
Right.
military has drastically changed.
Mhm.
You know, and it's sad. You know, but I know as a Muslim, it's my job. It's not only my job, but my duty to know my religion,
Yes, it is.
so that I can better manifest it in my behavior,
Mhm.
in my communication with
Mhm.
people, and that is going to be the only way to dispel Islamophobia.
Yes, sir.
Because you know, people at my job, they know I'm Muslim, and we have anytime they have a question, they come to me and
Right.
we speak about it, and everything is good.
So you're speaking about carrying yourself in a certain way. So you carry yourself in a certain way. They know you're a Muslim, so you have good adab, good character, and they see you, and because they see this, they come back and they say, well, this is a Muslim. What I'm saying is many people, because we work in different fields, they see you in action and they say, well, I know a Muslim. You know, my mother did that. My mother, once she told me she went to a Bible studies class, and the person who was teaching the class, he was really saying a lot of bad things about Islam. And my mother said, no, that's not true. That's not true. Because she knew what Islam stood for, because of course she has a son that's in Islam. So she decided that she would not go back to that because this person is lying. This person is not telling the truth. We don't need to denigrate anybody's religion. Religion should be able to stand on its own 2 feet. Islam stands on its own bottom. And if you just give us the chance to show and prove in terms of showing you who we are and what we are, you will see that there's nothing for you to be afraid of.
Indeed.
Nothing for you to be afraid of. We are religious people, and because I pray 5 times a day doesn't make me extremist.
Not at all.
It means that I care about my religion, I care about God, and that's one thing I want the audience to understand, because oftentimes they say, that's the Muslims' God. Allah is the Muslims' God. No, Allah is the creator of the heavens and the earth. He is the one who created Adam and Eve. He is the one who created everything. If you are a Christian and you are living in Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, any of these places, you would not say God, which is an English word, you would say Allah. So please stop misinforming the people about our religion and about who we believe in. We believe in the Creator, the one who created everything. We call him Allah, you call him God. We're talking about the same one.
The God of
Is that right?
Abraham, the God of Abraham.
God of
the
Abraham.
Isaac, the God of Ishmael.
That's right.
Moses.
Absolutely. Same one. We submit to God. We submit to God and we follow what he has commanded of us to follow. So yes, we pray 5 times a day. We give in charity because that's part of our religion. We fast during the month of Ramadan because that's part of our religion. We go to the holy city of Mecca once in our lifetime because that's part of our religion. We bear witness to the oneness of God, and we know that God is not a part of creation in any way, shape, or form. He is not a part of creation. He has no sons, he has no daughters, he has no mother, no father. Just think about this for a minute. If God was to put himself in the form of a human, he would have to look like someone. So to look like someone would mean that other people who did not look like that someone would be inferior. Is that right?
Alhamdulillah that you mentioned that, because that is this system of racism, white supremacy.
Yes.
Get its seed in that concept.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel. You know, everything is portrayed from a Eurocentric point of view.
Right.
Jesus is Caucasian. Jesus is white. You know, whether he's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, or brown-haired, brown-eyed, he's portrayed as being Caucasian or white-skinned.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the psychology of that, if you are Chinese and you in a church and you have a white God, then in your mind you're thinking, look, what does that put me?
Yeah. So this is what happens, and over a long period of time, you have people thinking that they are superior and you have people thinking that they are inferior. So to believe in a God that is not a part of creation, so all that is wiped out.
Exactly.
There is no color. There is no color. There is no race that God is in, because we are the human family, one human family, which means that we are all brothers and sisters.
We are
We are brothers and sisters. So yeah, we may have different complexions, we may come from different parts of the earth, but we all started from the same mother and the same father.
Correct.
So we should not be having this kind of tension between one another. As you mentioned early on about Allah, God saying that He created us in the nations and tribes so that we could come to know each other, right? Not despise each other.
Exactly.
This is very important for us to understand. Alhamdulillah.
I think another thing is very important, is that in Al-Islam there is no compulsion.
No compulsion.
We cannot force, I cannot force you to make your prayer. You cannot force me. It's no compulsion. We can't make somebody else be Muslims. We accept and we live in peace.
Yes.
I mean, it's as simple as that.
I think that's important, Imam, to say that again, that we, or Islam, is not a religion of compulsion. We can't compel anyone to become a Muslim. If someone wants to become a Muslim, it has to be something that they want to do of their own free will. You have to willingly submit yourself to Almighty Allah. So we don't force anyone to do that. And those who are doing it, they're not doing it in the name of true Islam. They're doing it in what the president calls perverted Islam. And so we all fight, we support the president in that, and we all fight against that. So we want you to know, dear audience, that we are people of peace, and we love all humanity, and we are hoping and praying that this comes across to you in a way that you can truly understand it, and you can appreciate the other as we appreciate you. Once again, this is Al-Islam Refocused, the guiding light, and we say to you, our audience, that we wish you the peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Please tune in next week, the same time, same place, and may the peace of God be upon you. Assalamu alaikum.